So, EA just announced 3 new Star Wars games in development, which is a great opportunity for me finally to talk about how EA ruined their opportunities with the exclusive Star Wars games license. So, for this I'll make a short mind experiment with you and you tell me what you would do in this situation, okay? So, you are a big game publisher and one of the greatest franchises of all time just gave you the exclusive right to solely produce Star Wars games for the next 10 years. Games which are known to have a very huge fan base that still played the old Star Wars games even 10 years after their release. Back in the old golden age of Star Wars games, where over 4 games have been released every year, arguably a good choice, also some bad under them, but 4 games a year, think about that, we only get 1 game every 2 years, if it doesn't get cancelled on the way. So what would you do in EA's place when you could revive these old golden times as a publisher studio who has dozens of developer studios awaiting your orders? Exactly! You only let one of the studios work on the biggest project in Star Wars games history, then publish the game with a major lack of content, wait 2 more years until they publish a game which triggered the greatest shitstorm about in-game payments for loot boxes, and led to many countries change their gambling laws. Yes, but after this little difficult start, you finally managed to publish a very solid game after 6 years, which didn't get much hype before the release, but turned out as the greatest Star Wars game single player experience after all. So, with this and also Battlefront 2 getting patched and updated in the right directions, so it seems like you finally found the right spot and actually have a game formula that works now that you can also apply in the future. So what is the most logical thing to do now for you? Exactly! You cancel all of the Star Wars games in development and close down the studios. That's actually a big brain move, because now you don't have any new shitstorms to deal with. At least concerning Star Wars. So, but then 2 years before your exclusive contract ends, you realize, oh man, we haven't already made enough money with Star Wars Squadrons, and now try to pump out as much content as possible before Quantic Dream's new game drives us out of the market. Okay, just joking, the Jedi Fallen Order sequel seemed pretty good so far, but how could it have come that a major game studio failed most of their AAA titled games of a Star Wars license? Well, therefore we need to start at the beginning. In 2012, holy cow, that's 10 years ago, Disney bought Lucasfilm and therefore Star Wars. And only a year later, they already decided to give EA an exclusive license to publish Star Wars games for the next 10 years. The timing here couldn't have been better, as EA won the desirable award for being the worst company in America. The 2nd year in a row. But this questionable award, besides, the first thing we saw about Battlefront 1 was pretty breathtaking. Never before did we have such high quality graphics and effects in any video game so far. The new used technology set new standards for the industry from a graphical point of view. Because the game had one big issue, it lacked major content. Only the Imperial Age was playable, and that only on 4 maps. Even though it was released simultaneously with Episode 7, The Force Awakens, we didn't get any content about that, which wouldn't have been a problem. I mean, it was just the first film of the sequel era and there would have probably not been much to do with that. But the rest of the game more felt like it was missing major reasons to keep you playing after you saw every map once. So the creators starting to bring out some DLC content with new heroes and maps, so even Scarif made it into the game when Rogue One was released in cinemas. So it was finally a full game then, when you purchased the season pass for $50. So you bought the full price game for $60 and have to spend the same amount again to have an acceptable content in it. Well.
Well done. Now head to the hangar.
But after this, I have to say the developer really learned from the critics, because Battlefront 2 was, in this regard, an unbelievably strong game, with finally adding Clone Wars content again. Despite some minor problems or bugs, the game was playable and it seemed like a worthy addition to the franchise if it hadn't featured loot boxes. So you need to know, in the first days all heroes and also star cards were not available and you needed to unlock them first with in-game cash you received by playing the game. A Reddit user calculated you needed to play over 40 hours just to unlock Darth Vader. 40 hours of non-stop grinding in a game just to unlock one villain. Alternately, you can also spend some bucks to get him instantly. You have to imagine that you buy a game for $70 and then can't even play it to full extent. EA reacted fast to the shitstorm and decreased the cost for everything by 75%, but the main problem stayed, despite still taking over 12 hours of playing to unlock one hero. Battlefront 2's upgrade system works with star cards, which make your characters better. Upgrades could have only be achieved by getting them out of loot boxes, which always drop you random items. These star cards could boost up some heroes by almost 40%, and that was pay to win. Players and fans had no understanding why they should spend money on random case drops just to be able to compete in a game with others. But luckily, EA completely understood the situation and responded with a kind and understanding Reddit post telling fans that this system intends to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment when they unlock new heroes. Yes, a huge shitstorm arose over EA and their dishonest marketing methods, which even made the stock fall by over 2%. The answer comment by EA became Reddit's most downvoted post of all time, with over 600,000 downvotes. The second worst of all time only has 23,000 downvotes. In fear of the franchise, even Disney had to move in and told EA to remove all purchasable content from the game. But it was already too late. The game, which is absolutely breathtaking in its gameplay and content in core, has been ruined for most of the potential buyers before Christmas, and with Fortnite starting to pull attraction a few months later, the game lost most of its positive potential. But the loot box shitstorm was only the beginning of Battlefront 2's downfall. There was one more significant problem over the next years, which really ended the game's success. So, from the beginning, the game promised a free battle pass and frequent content updates. So should General Grievous, Obi-Wan and Anakin be implemented over time. This was actually a great deal at the beginning, because it meant upcoming content for Star Wars fans. But what started as a good idea turned out to not work that well, because they had a contract with Disney which told them they have to release new content to the upcoming films, which brought us Finn and Phasma instead of Grievous and Obi-Wan, and 5 new Han and Lando skins instead of Geonosis and the Commander Droid. This arguable choice by Disney made the fans mad because they demanded Clone Wars content, which was delayed for content of The Last Jedi, Solo a Star Wars story, and the Ewok Hunt update. So we had to wait over 1 year for General Grievous, and then he was trash. The further months may have brought us Obi-Wan, Dooku and Anakin, as well as Capital Supremacy and the Geonosis map, but it still wasn't an enjoyable game, since major balancing problems occurred then. New released Anakin was completely broken, his ability alone ended whole games and killed nearly full health heroes with the press of one button. Grievous also needed many mechanical fixes, and it was overall not a rounded game experience. Even though the new Clone Wars era reinforcements, the ARC Trooper, the Clone Commando as well as the Droidica and the Commander Droid, banged pretty hard. But then it continued as fans were waiting for Ahsoka and Ventress to be implemented into the Clone Wars era, and then we got this instead. A droid that maybe got like 5 seconds of screen time.
What have they done? DICE, what have you done? No one expected this. Up next on Star Wars Battlefront 2, they are adding C-3PO, but he's jacked with a flamethrower.
Then, in early 2020, Corona started and player numbers increased worldwide due to lockdowns and everybody staying home, so some people finally had time again to retry Battlefront when they accidentally bought it at launch. so they also made a free week on Origin, which boosted player numbers even more. Finally some fixes arrived and it seemed like the game was entering a new golden age, so everybody was sure EA would soon bring out new long-awaited content such as Ahsoka and... well, I guess that's another high IQ move, somehow? So today it's full of hackers and it's impossible to find a normal lobby. Literally. The developers and community managers were unluckily not available since they were on a 2-month Christmas holiday, so that will pretty much be the last nail in Battlefront's coffin. So while Battlefront 2 ruined almost every opportunity they had, let's take a look for the other project in this time. Visceral Games, the creators of Dead Space, were working on some kind of single-player open-world game where you play some kind of outlaw who fights the Empire. It was codenamed Ragtag during development and orientated on the Uncharted games, so you were able to climb and shoot your way to goals, but you also had various stealth options to fulfill missions without lethal combat. They even released a short teaser which hyped most of the fanbase. But this promising project soon faced internal struggles, as EA thought they should re-evaluate the benefits of this game and came to the strategically very smart conclusion that it was not the time for single-player adventure games in the Imperial era. So nevertheless, they decided to split the team of Visceral Games in two, with one half continuing work on the Star Wars project and the other half making DLC content for Battlefield Hardline. I don't know who made this genius move, but it ended up ripping the team apart and making the progress slow down completely. Visceral itself suffered major internal problems due to developers feeling less useful when working on Battlefield Hardline, except for the big Star Wars franchise, which is completely understandable from my point of view. Also, the priorities of development of Ragtag seem to be a little unclear. One developer, for example, stated that the main character wasn't even able to shoot his gun, but the team was already fine-tuning how his hands would touch a door handle. EA was totally surprised about the slow progress caused by their own decisions and decided to re-evaluate this project again. So you need to know that Visual Studios was settled in Redwood City, which is one of the most expensive locations to build up your development studio and maintain your living standards of your employers. And they would have had to expand if they wanted to meet deadlines for the Ragtag Star Wars project, which already made Visual Studio EA's most expensive developers. Which didn't look too good in the company's own statistics, I think, so Electronic Arts decided to close the studio down, halfway in development, and only gave them 3 weeks time to make final renderings, just save everything to move the data to their own intern studios in Vancouver, just to shut down the project some months later. Wow. How could you ruin such a promising project? And yeah, I have not really much to say about Squadrons. Do you have played the game? To be honest, I have not seen a single whole video about it, I haven't even touched it, and that even though it seemed to be interesting, I think that's more on me, I admit. So I already see this video is getting way too long, so I'll keep it short with Jedi Fallen Order. It was great, absolutely well done. A good working single-player campaign with a strong story absolutely deserved the hype and had many Star Wars fans returning to the games finally. Developed by Respawn, the same guys who made Titanfall and were originally part of Infinity Ward, who made the good Call of Duty games of the past. So having that in mind, we can have high expectations for the announced Jedi Fallen Order sequel. But I will probably make a video about that soon when we got more information. So to sum it up, EA's exclusive license will end on May 2023, and they now saw the last chance to bring out some new games before it expires. Because I mean, you can see that Quantic Dreams with Star Wars Eclipse is already waiting for their time to shine. So it seems like EA had officially ended its expedition in the Battlefront era and will now focus on Jedi Fallen Order as their main flagship. Additionally, there were 2 other new Star Wars games announced, one being a strategy game. I would be hyped if it was going in the direction of the Total War saga, and another Star Wars game which is meant to be a first-person shooter, with no more clear explanation, but I would expect something in the direction of Republic Commando. We will see how this last year of their license will turn out in the future, but for now we can only hope for the best.